All right.
Reporting the call. Okay. Cool.
We're
So
officially live.
we are officially live. Um, what'd you guys think about Raw?
Mm,
So, like, the biggest thing of the problem with Raw is them beating James's dead horse, right? Like, the twists and turns of the Becky and Rousey and Flair like storyline is just way overcomplicated.
Well,
Like,
to clarify, just because we're doing this so other people can listen. When he says beating James's horse, what he's talking about is I personally have this thing where I know that Becky Lynch is organically over. And one of the things that I fear is that because they have their thing, oh, this is one of these things that's working, and we're only ever worried, at least this is in my opinion, we're only ever worried as the WWE about this thing working and this thing working, and then we'll just kind of figure out everything else out other than that, like at a later date, like that's the horse. Becky's the horse. And if they keep beating her, she's going to die. And then they're just going to keep beating that dead horse into the ground. And before you know it, she's not going to be organically over anymore. And some of the passionate wrestling fans that watch every week are just going to get annoyed with the story and be over it. So continue.
I just like yes, I just don't understand like what they were trying to accomplish Monday night, other than making Rousey look real, like make it look like it was real, right? Like, is that basically the storyline they're trying to pitch now? Rousey's a real fighter versus this is wrestling.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe.
I think they have to at this point because everybody knows what Charlotte and Becky can do. They've been in all these matches together. They know how their chemistry is, and Ronda is just kind of flailing around at this point, basically, because the story isn't Ronda no more. The story is Becky and Charlotte.
Mm.
Ronda is just there to get shit talked at. So they got to give her some kind of credibility at this point, where it's not going to be worth even having her in the match.
It was at least acceptable to me, and I didn't hate the segment. Um, I thought the segment was successful in doing a couple things. One of the things I think we were always worried about was they don't want people to boo Ronda Rousey. Well, they proved with her promo before she attacked Becky that they don't care if people boo Ronda Rousey. She's playing that like I don't really care if you don't like me. I'm sick of this person. I'm sick of this person, and I'm tired of being nice. I'm just going to be real. Now, the only issue I have with that is that I think what they're trying to do is say, hey, look, Becky's like Stone Cold. Let's see if we can make Ronda Rousey like Stone Cold too.
Yeah. I, and
And
and and honestly, I think Rousey cares. Like, I think she
of
really
course,
cares that she's getting booed because
of course.
she trips over herself so many times with the boos because I think she gets emotional and she really dislikes being the bad guy, which is weird
I guess
because she was the bad guy for
days.
a while, right?
She can't handle it. She can't handle the fans not loving her. It drives her nuts. And she's gonna get a pop no matter what. Whenever her music hits, she's gonna get a pop. But she's not. No matter how they look at it, she's not gonna be the biggest one in the match. Charlotte is there for the name factor of it because you have a Flair in the match. Becky's the one that's over. Ronda, at this point, I hate to say it, is just the middle person who's there to have a couple big spots and not look bad in the end. That's what Ronda is at this point.
Is Ronda Roman Reigns?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no, 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 not at all.
anything that would be Charlotte at this point.
Okay.
And you know what? There is that. I was talking to a coworker today, and there was this worry that what if they give the title to Charlotte?
What is that a bad? I mean, I don't know. I
I don't
mean,
know that it's bad. She's been off the chain as a heel, right?
she's
She's
she's the
great.
best woman's heel they have.
I agree.
But at this point, if they give it to Charlotte, it's kind of a slap in the face to the fans being behind Becky. And it would ultimately lead to just Charlotte versus Becky at the next few pay per views. I hate to say it's predictable, but at this point, it's almost like you have to give it to Becky or let Ronda hold on to it. Giving it to Charlotte would be the one screw you to the fans that people would see coming. Like last year, having Charlotte beat Asuka, nobody's seen that coming. If Charlotte wins, other than Becky winning, you see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to not let Becky win, the obvious choice would be to give it to Charlotte to get the heat. I think you could either give it to Becky and let the fans have their moment, or Ronda somehow pulls a Brock Lesnar and pulls it out of nowhere. No
Yeah,
pun intended.
and they need to be careful not to duplicate a moment, right? A WrestleMania moment, because I feel like me and Chris, and I don't want to speak for Chris, so I'll give him a chance to put his opinion in a second, but I feel like me and Chris have kind of gone over to the side that this whole Shield thing is really just a setup for a betrayal at WrestleMania, and you don't want to have anything that's anywhere in the ballpark of that happen in the women's match if you're going to do that with the men's match.
Yeah. So good segue. The Shield stuff, because I agree. The Shield stuff I think they're building towards somebody turning, and it's going to be at WrestleMania. I didn't think they were going to make them reunite in a match at Fastlane. This is kind of surprising, to be honest. They're once again playing off the leukemia.
No, well,
Forced to try to pull Dean back to a face because he's not going to be the one that's going to be heel at WrestleMania. I think they're finally going to let it be Roman who turns.
Yeah. It's the right move. If Roman needs to be the one that just dumps them, just basically, he's playing the good guy right now with Rollins. Oh no, if anybody's going to do it, you're going to do it. But no, the buildup is for him to turn on them at WrestleMania.
But if he does, they might not do it at Mania because they've rearranged the pay-per-views going forward. And I think after WrestleMania is Money in the Bank before Backlash now, so they could let the Shield have the hat trick for say when it comes to Money in the Bank. Let Roman win the Money in the Bank and cash in on whoever's the champion at the time, whether it be Seth or who. I think you let Brock win somehow at Mania, and Seth gets one more shot at Money in the Bank, and Roman cashes in and screws Seth.
You're basically doing the switch on him. But
Yeah.
that's I don't know. That's also barring Dean actually staying on with WWE.
He's not.
He's not going anywhere.
I still don't see it.
You're out of your mind.
Why?
Because it's such a work, man. Read the writing on the wall.
There's plenty of writing on the wall. I get that, but there's also plenty of fake posts out there, like the other day that Steven sent me, that's saying that WWE was announcing that he re-signed, and then I look into it and I'm like, oh no, it's a fake post. He hasn't re-signed.
Then I've heard that WWE was mad that stuff was leaking already. So even in the fake post, you can't really tell what anything is anymore because there's always something coming out.
Yeah,
always.
No, of course, yeah. They're always trying to swerve us, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes
the swerve,
there's too much money in the three of them for them to let any of them go. So either they're going to find a way to keep him, or they're going to have some kind of clause in his last contract where he can't do nothing. The smart thing to do is have him disappear for a while, and then have when Roman goes heel, he's beating the snot out of Seth, and nobody can help Seth, and then Dean come back. So there's a lot they can do, but I doubt they'll end up doing it all by the end of it. They're going to try to push Roman in. They're going to turn him heel to try to get him over.
But you have to get through Fastlane first, right? So you have this warm-up match essentially at Fastlane with the three of them versus McIntyre, Lashley, and Corbin. But what coming out of that? How do you build up WrestleMania coming out of that? Like Rollins already has a match. I'm assuming we're gonna get Corbin and Reigns at WrestleMania, which is a joke of a WrestleMania match for Roman Reigns. And then what do you do with Dean?
I think you throw him into like a ladder match or a fatal four-way or something for the IC title. IC title and US title always have some kind of throwaway match and if they do that and they throw him in some kind of a match, if they keep him on, if he's not going anywhere, he finds a way to win the belt. If he comes out of WrestleMania with the Intercontinental title, that means he's going nowhere.
Well, yeah.
They're going to have some kind of throw together match. They always do. They're not doing anything with Finn having the belt at the moment, so it makes sense. He's going to be Fastlane. No, he's not. So
I just feel like Finn's going to hold on to it for a while because they're finally giving him a push, and it's not going to be the world title. It's going to be Intercontinental.
Well, here's my thing now.
SmackDown. They'll move Finn to SmackDown. He'll drop the IC title. He'll move to SmackDown, and he'll be in the title picture on SmackDown.
I don't know. I think you guys are giving the writing team too much credit. I mean, how many times are we let down by them? What I'm thinking actually, and I've thrown this theory out to you guys before, that it's like these writers, they like to take naps all the time, and so they're just like, oh, what did we do a couple years ago? Oh, we'll just do that again.
A couple years ago, last week.
Well, yeah, well, believe me, but what I'm thinking of in particular is like, there's still that thing where they could be like, you could have Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose take that IC title off of Finn Balor and then set up Finn Balor to be, within a pay-per-view or two, the next person to go after Seth Rollins and beat him at SummerSlam as the Demon.
That's the one, right? That's the match everybody expects is the Demon at SummerSlam against Seth Rollins for the rematch.
Yeah. And the Demon doesn't lose.
No. That's why he only comes out at SummerSlam.
I don't think we get that. I think with Roman, they had all these plans before Roman went away. They changed everything, and now Roman's back, and they're trying to save the ship, for lack of a better terminology. I think the big match at SummerSlam is going to end up being Roman versus Drew, because that was what they wanted for WrestleMania. But then the next couple months leading into SummerSlam, it's going to be Roman Reigns' show, and then Drew McIntyre is going to come up as the big one everybody wants to take down. In saying that, I think Finn is going to go to SmackDown, and I think Seth might too. But in doing that, I think they bring AJ and somebody else of his caliber over to Raw.
Joe. You probably bring Joe over.
If you bring Joe, then that's one of those you switch the IC US title, which they've been known to do in the past.
If Joe doesn't lose it to Cena at WrestleMania.
It doesn't make sense.
Trolling.
Oh, it doesn't make sense to have that.
It makes total sense. Well, time out. Now, I'm not fighting for this, but it makes sense. Who was the guy who started the whole Open US Challenge thing? Who was the guy who made it a big thing? It was Cena, right? So who better to come out when Joe comes out at WrestleMania and goes, I'm doing an Open US title challenge at WrestleMania? Who better to come out than Cena?
Well, I'm going to give it the credit to James here. I think Mustafa Ali.
Oh.
Well,
Joe title at Mania would be a better match than Joe versus Cena. And let Mustafa have his moment knocking off Joe and taking the belt from him at Mania.
Well, I'd rather put Mustafa Ali in that ladder match you talked about for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah. Let's do one thing, WWE. Let's forget that we had Mustafa Ali come out with Kevin Owens on SmackDown. Can we just forget that ever happened? Worst.
That was a stupid spot too.
It was unnecessary and it made no sense. It would have made all the sense in the world had Sami Zayn come out. It would have been great.
And they were chanting for Sami. That would have been the perfect time.
Exactly. The crowd was begging for it.
I don't understand the whole flip flop with Owens and Kofi, other than giving Kofi the WrestleMania match. This is such a sped up storyline that it's not working.
No.
Mania. Than Kevin Owens. I hate to say it. Kofi's going to be a big pop at Mania. And Kofi can have those kind of matches with the Seth Rollins or with AJ or with Finn, to where those athletic kind of bouts that people want. If you're not going to have the big powerhouses on the Universal title side, Finn doesn't fit in facing Roman and Brock and Braun repeatedly. He makes more sense facing AJ and Kofi and Seth. It makes more sense to have that title, the more athletic bouting ones, than just I'm a big muscly guy, I'm going to throw you around. It just makes more sense, though.
Do you really think Kofi's going to get a run, though? I mean, don't you think Kofi's more of just getting a moment?
I think he gets the moment, and I think he keeps it to Backlash. I think he holds on to it through Money in the Bank. I think he'll get at least one pay-per-view reign. Like he'll win it at Mania, and he'll carry it to Backlash. I think they'll give him a shot to see what he can do. But I think at Backlash they take it off of him, and it might be from a cash in. It could be a show switch cash in.
Kofi Kingston, paper champion of the WWE.
It's just hard. I mean, he deserves it, but at the same time, I just can't see him getting a long run. I feel like he's going to be almost like a Zack Ryder. I got my moment at WrestleMania, and then I come out the next night and I drop it. They have
more faith in Kofi though. Kofi moves a lot more money than Zack Ryder does. I think Kofi gets better than Zack. I hate to say it, and that could be a great way to break up the New Day. Have one of them, have Xavier Woods or Big E, if they do Money in the Bank, have a SmackDown and a Raw Money in the Bank, have one of them win a Money in the Bank briefcase, and that could be, causing turmoil, breaking up the New Day.
That would be unnecessary, though.
New Day's not breaking up. But to your same argument of merchandise, to how much money they bring in, New Day's not breaking up. Not now. They have too much. As long as they keep coming up with ridiculous ideas to sell stuff, they're going to continue to stay together because they make money.
And the New Day
Kofi wouldn't have got his push. Kofi wouldn't have got his push if it wasn't for how popular the New Day is.
Well, he should have gotten his push a long time ago if it wasn't for Randy Orton. But if Kofi wins the belt,
no. It wasn't for Edge. Edge jumped Kofi in an elimination chamber match and took his spot and won the title when Flip shows. That was Kofi was the closest.
Kofi Orton feud when Orton kind of just shit on the whole building to him. Their Madison Square Garden match was great for Kofi, and then Orton pulled his drama queen. If they want to do it, give him a semi-lengthy run. Give him 4 months with the belt. Let the New Day go heel. A proper heel run for them. Have Xavier and Big E be tag champs, and Kofi be the main champ, and then you bring in another faction. That could be how you bring up the Undisputed Era. You bring in another faction to compete against them.
Well, why do you need to bring in a faction when you have a faction that you're not using on SmackDown already? It's called Sanity.
Because you have nothing. You have nothing for Undisputed right now. That's the thing. If you're going back to NXT, what's Undisputed doing right now? There's no titles on any guys. They're not advancing in the Dusty Classic. What are you doing with them before Mania?
You're going to do something because the Ciampa thing is an issue. And the Ciampa thing,
that's a whole other topic, dude.
The Ciampa thing might escalate that situation and push them from moving them up back because you might give it to somebody like Adam Cole.
You got to do the breaking news thing, like do, like cause you have to.
for anybody listening to this, if you haven't heard, it was announced that Ciampa is having neck surgery. Tommaso Ciampa. I'm sorry. No, it's the WWE. We like to cut everybody's name down. It's not Tommaso Ciampa. It's Ciampa now.
It's our podcast. It's Tommaso Ciampa.
He's having surgery on his neck, and it's going to have him out for an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah, quite a while.
So that basically destroys what they were building for as their main event for the NXT takeover. But regardless of that, not trying to get too far away from our original topic, that is just a reason why they may not bring Undisputed up. I'm not saying that they won't do it because they could very easily give that title to Matt Riddle, which they shouldn't, or Velveteen Dream, which they maybe should, or Johnny Gargano, which maybe they should.
The problem with the Gargano, so I see Riddle. I agree with you with Riddle. He needs more time. I think giving Riddle a North American title run, it makes more sense. The Gargano thing, the Gargano thing doesn't make sense because his storybook ending is beating Ciampa for the title. Like now, what do you do? So it doesn't mean it. It doesn't mean anything though. Like if he beats Adam Cole in a tournament, what does that mean? If he beats Velveteen, maybe because they have some history there. You know, there's Aleister Black is the only one that they have like some serious history that would make the most sense. But even then, Black and Ricochet took Ciampa and Gargano's spot on the tag teams right now
Yeah.
that's going on.
They're in the tag title match at Fastlane.
The best thing.
How are they going to do that? Because aren't they on the Classic also?
Yeah, I don't
They're
know.
fighting 2 nights in a row unless they retape.
I think they'll have to retape it. I think the whole Ciampa thing really threw a wrench into everything they had planned.
But it's not the end of the world, because this is how you salvage that storyline. Move Gargano up.
No, they're actually keeping him down. They're actually keeping him down because of this.
I think that that's the wrong move.
Yeah, move him up. Fast forward a year. Gargano's the U.S. champion. He starts the Open, and Ciampa. That's how you bring Ciampa up and bring them back and let them have their feud on the main roster.
Yeah.
And let everybody enjoy it, because all it's going to take is one pay-per-view match for everybody to be sold on them.
So, Steven, if I get this right, you have Gargano getting Samoa Joe to tap out for the U.S. title?
Gargano does not win it from Joe.
Okay. So
that's Brock. It makes sense. Joe's going to lose it. I hate to say it, to Mustafa Ali if they do it properly. Which, honestly, with the way they are, it'll probably be Randy Orton who he loses it to, and Orton will lose it to Mustafa Ali. Just because they like to transition everything through Randy Orton, apparently.
Yeah,
he's the middleman, the ultimate middleman.
I guess. What are you doing with AJ Styles?
Contract negotiations.
I guess.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they're just having some dream matches for him, right?
Yeah, they're trying to persuade him to re-sign. His contract's about to be up. He wants a lighter schedule. They're trying to figure out something for him so he doesn't leave and go to AEW for a lighter schedule. That's what they're doing right now. They're trying to keep AJ happy. And I think that's why you put him on Raw, because it's fresh people for him to fight.
Keep AJ happy. The guy's him and Rollins have been the two top guys on the shows. I mean, how do you not want to keep those guys?
After shake up or whatever they want to call it, you have to have the two of them on the same show. If not, they have to be two matching champions going in to Survivor Series. You have to let them have a match. You can't let either one of them leave the company without the two of them fighting at least once.
Well, Rollins never leaves the company. Rollins is a lifer now, I would think. The guy's been carrying the show. One thing that Reigns was accurate when he said that. When he said, this guy's been, holding things up the whole time I've been gone.
Him and Finn. They just don't give Finn. They just don't give Finn the credit. Dolph Ziggler, yeah, behind the scenes, right?
Yeah. So like this Ciampa thing, I don't. I have to go back to it because it's like this guy was probably the number one, and he kept saying entertainer that they had in WWE. And now he's got another injury that he's got to go away for. Like, can he even come back from this? Because there's even if it's
back, but he'll be a main guy. He'll always be a mid card at best at this point because they'll look at him as injury prone. They're not going to put one of the main titles on him and have him leave with an injury.
Because he was always taking those crazy bumps onto like the concrete and stuff, right?
At the best, he'll have is an IC and US title run. He'll probably have some tag titles here and there when they put him and Gargano back together eventually. But he will never be I hate to say this, kind of like Cesaro. He'll never get that main title push.
It's criminal.
It's a criminal bold statement from Steven right there. Bold
it's criminal that Cesaro has never gotten a main card push. That one doesn't make sense. He's not even injury prone.
Vince just doesn't like Cesaro.
Cesaro doesn't have he doesn't have a character. Right, Vince is all about the package, and Cesaro's character, Swiss Superman. Yeah, he can do some crazy stuff, but it's not a big enough character for Vince, so he never gave him the biggest push.
He's not great on the mic either.
You have to give him to somebody. Give him to Paul Heyman. Let him be a Paul Heyman guy. Let him learn
He
from somebody
was,
like
wasn't
that.
he? He was a Paul
No, he
Heyman
was
guy for a little while.
never Zeb, the American, whatever the hell his name was. He was
Coulter.
never a Heyman guy. Yeah, he was never a Heyman guy. He should be.
We need the
He
next Heyman guy if Brock's gonna leave.
Brock keeps his foot out the door. The only reason he's not already completely gone is because when Reigns went down, they didn't think Strowman was ready for the title. Strowman kept doing things that made people mad, and he kept getting hurt too. They don't think Strowman can either stay healthy or carry the show long enough to put the title. He's going to end up being kind of like a Big Show, where he'll have a couple reigns here and there, but he's never going to be that main fixture. It's not going to happen.
They missed the boat on Braun
Yeah,
Strowman.
people are just over Strowman at this point, but they weren't over him before. Before he was a legitimate guy, and he was ready to hold the title, and people were ready for him to hold the title.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He's fallen into the Mark Henry Big Show caliber person at this point.
Well, he's fallen into the, hey, we're WWE and we're going to do the same match 11 times in a row and hope you don't recognize that we did that.
Because that's another guy right now that doesn't have a WrestleMania path right now, right? Like, what's his match at WrestleMania? The Andre the Giant Classic or whatever? That's it.
The big issue is we do this all the time near WrestleMania. Oh my God, so-and-so doesn't have a WrestleMania match. There's too many superstars for everybody to have a WrestleMania match.
When you have a 17-hour show, you got plenty of time, though, James.
Here's some
have TV time. Braun's getting TV time. He should be somewhere.
He's just gonna come out and smash somebody. That's it.
Here's my problem. Here's my biggest gripe, is that in WrestleMania, I'm always willing for them to give some of this weird, not always wrestling wrestler gimmick match. But I don't like them to do two of those matches. And so now they have two of them, one in the form of Triple H and Batista, which is the one I'm fine with. I'm okay with that match. I've got zero problems with it. But what looks to be building to The Miz versus Shane McMahon, I couldn't care less about that. I couldn't care less about that match. The whole point is that somehow The Miz is going to get embarrassed in his hometown at Fastlane. I'm assuming this is just what I think they're going to book. And then he's going to explode and attack Shane or vice versa. Or something's going to happen, and one of them are going to attack each other. And then it's going to be, oh, we're going one-on-one at WrestleMania because, I was the one carrying. No, I was the one carrying it. And who cares? Who cares? SmackDown used to have the best tag team division of the two shows, and right now they're making it a joke.
They could swerve it. They could have The Miz and Shane win, because I'm still waiting for the other foot to drop on the Usos. He didn't get punished. They don't typically let I don't think if they win, they're not keeping the titles into Mania.
Did he? But wait a second. Did he get punished? Did the other Uso get punished last time they had a DUI? Because they've done this before. I can never remember which one it is, but I'm pretty sure the other Uso got a DUI also and never got punished.
Well, whenever they dropped the titles, they were off TV for 4 or 5 months. Like whenever they came, we seen that SmackDown a couple months back, and they were out in the dark match. They were stuck on dark matches. They didn't do nothing with them on TV.
So that was the quote unquote punishment.
Yeah, you pull them out of the title picture. You pull them off TV. I think eventually, if it's not the Shane and the Miz, it's going to be at WrestleMania. They drop the belt, so then they'll disappear for a few months. It's just how they typically do when it comes to, if it's not a drug offense, it's typically we're going to let what we have planned, and then we're going to make you disappear for a little bit.
I do agree with James, though, that I could care less about Miz versus Shane at WrestleMania, because what is it going to be, some stipulation match, like a falls count anywhere or something, or no disqualification, or because you have to have a big bump, otherwise it's a boring match.
Yeah.
It's going to be a Cleveland street fight.
That's not bad. There you go.
Sounds horrible.
They missed the boat they should have done with the Miz. When Daniel Bryan came back, they gave Daniel the title. If it wasn't for Daniel Bryan wanting to be a heel, they had the perfect setup to let the Miz win at Mania over Daniel Bryan, and they just shit on it. They shit on it.
I concur. But I think one of the things that made that not be a good idea was, again, the crowd really getting behind Kofi on one episode of SmackDown, just getting behind him. So, like, I don't know. You can't really know whether the crowd would have gotten behind Mustafa Ali if he did the same thing.
They wouldn't have to the point of Kofi's been there for so long. I know I'm not the only person in the world who thinks Kofi deserves a push. He 100% deserves this push. He should have got it a long time ago. He's a great worker. He's athletic. He's always good for spots. Even if it's just a 4-week reign, he deserves it at this point. He's been there for over 12 years. The fans love him. No matter what gimmick or character he's had, he's always been able to sell merchandise. Yeah.
You leave Mustafa Ali in that match, and Mustafa Ali is fighting Daniel Bryan at Fastlane, and Kevin Owens is fighting Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. That's the difference between if they would have got behind Mustafa Ali. They would have, but not to the fact of getting him to WrestleMania. They would have got him to Fastlane main event, and that would have been a great, spot for Mustafa Ali. But
there wouldn't have been this standing ovation at the end of Elimination Chamber for Mustafa like there was for Kofi.
Well, you don't know that for sure.
I disagree. I think they would give him an ovation. They do that a lot.
Not to that extent, though.
The fact that how many times we do "This is awesome" or whatever
when things aren't awesome.
Yeah.
They'll be like, actually, it's not awesome. Why are you chanting it's awesome?
One backflip and all of a sudden, this is awesome. Jeez.
It's the generation of the pop. You want that pop move. You want that one spot.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes you get a crowd that's just the worst and doesn't even cheer for all these great call-ups you're doing.
Yeah. They need to fix something. It doesn't need to be the era of the pop anymore. It's not even the era of the pop. It's the era of the pop. Okay, now I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
It's just the thing is we're talking about the rest of the build up to WrestleMania because we're so close. Everything is different after WrestleMania. What the call ups are going to do, the shake up, everything is completely changed after Mania because Sammy's going to be back. Roman's going to be pushed again, so hopefully Brock's going to be gone. There's tons of stuff that's going to happen after Mania. It's just to build the Mania. There's been injuries and there's been returns, and they
forced a lot of returns into a small period of time.
Yeah.
Though the
Hardys coming back. There's going to be a tag team ladder match or something probably at Mania, and they're going to be in it. They're going to do something to where even if the Hardys don't have to win something, they're going to get a pop. I think the SmackDown tag titles are going to be in some kind of a gimmick ladder match at Mania. It just makes, I hate to say it, but it makes sense at this point. That's the only reason you put the Hardys back together.
The SmackDown titles or the Raw titles?
SmackDown. They're on SmackDown. Hardys are on.
I mean, it's WrestleMania. You can do whatever you want.
You can do anything. Yeah, it would make more sense to move those two off of SmackDown.
It makes more sense for those two to not be in WWE anymore. That's what
I would take broken Matt Hardy in WWE still because it's a good character and you can do a lot with it. I don't want broken down Jeff Hardy wrestling anymore on the mid card to main event.
They're not giving him that gimmick. He's looking like the old Matt Hardy again. It's not. He's even making jokes about the V1 stuff. It's like they're watering down the broken gimmick to put them back together again.
Oh no, he said they've merged. All his personas have merged. Money Matt, V1, the Hardy Boys, and the Broken Universe.
Yeah, it's stupid. And it might be to get Matt his ring rust gone, get him back used to being in the ring again, and they'll let him go full-fledged broken. But if they do that, you're going to have a Hardy versus Hardy feud again.
Yeah.
it might not make me a popular person with whoever listens to this, but like, I just truly believe that there is a handful of people that have been around forever that just need to go off to greener pastures. And then you got to look at all the roster and then rank everybody, literally everybody, every single show, rank everybody, and take like your 10 lowest people and just get rid of them, just cut them, buy out their contracts and let them leave, let them go into the ether, because there's not enough room. When you're constantly doing 3-on-3 tag matches, there is not enough room. So unless you want to do some weird, Lucha Underground style 3v3 title thing, which I don't think they want to do,
No.
then they need to cut people.
I
They
agree.
yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen with the way New Japan has gained popularity, with Ring of Honor still growing to become
Yep.
bigger and bigger. With AEW, there's too much out there for them to let people go.
Yep.
Unless people
Competition looming, right?
it's not going to happen.
But but they are not understanding why those products are doing well. They're
Oh,
doing well for reasons that WWE isn't willing to shift on. Those products, even though they might not be totally hardcore, have kind of transformed themselves into like wrestling for adults that still love to watch wrestling.
right. But I still don't.
WWE isn't necessarily like that. WWE cares about the kids. Always. Kids, 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 kids. And as much as I can look up to the fact that they love kids, kids don't buy the tickets because they don't have the money to buy the tickets. The people who are buying the tickets are the wrestling fans that are bringing their kids to come see wrestling because they loved wrestling when they were younger. So what about them? You
I
know,
think a lot
they
will
they don't
change
care what product. They don't care what product their kids see. But listen,
when
they went through the Attitude Era, and Attitude Era was crazy. And guess what? There are plenty of kids in the crowd.
and that's kind of I think the direction they're not gonna go full fledged attitude. But Fox has told them part of the ground rules for it is they don't want the whole comedy drawn out skits and sketches. They want the athleticism, they want entertainment, they want it to be the wrestling of old that brings people in and brings in the ratings. They don't want the comedy segments. They don't want the stuff that tests badly. If it does badly more than 1 week in a row, they're going to start wanting things changed. I think whenever it goes live on Fox on Fridays at the end of this year, a lot's going to change.
Are there comedy
And
segments? Are there comedy segments in WWE right now?
The New Day is a one big like running joke like between
Yeah.
the three of those
I,
guys, right?
I
I
I
mean,
don't think I
and
don't
it's
think Fox would
hilarious.
I don't think Fox would have a problem with that though. Is the thing. I think I don't know that we are in the era of skits anymore. We've been away from that for a while. Back when I
but
was younger, there were skits all the time.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I get that, but it's always the long, drawn out promos. It's more of a daytime drama than it is an action wrestling event. A lot here recently. Up until the last few months, some episodes seemed like it was more promo than it actually was matches.
yeah,
There was just too much talking and whining back and forth. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot less of that. There's way too much talent, but I think the more the time goes on, the more they see things. NXT is going to have more popping up. There's a UK one. I think you get an Asian NXT. There's going to be more of those, and people are going to be shifting. If there's not room for them on the main roster, they're going to drop them down to NXT and have them run through that cycle until they're ready for them on the main roster again. They're going to keep making money off people who can make money and put them somewhere. They're not just going to let them sit on a shelf. They're going to put them in NXT. They're going to let them run that. They're going to help keep those ratings up because with Champa being hurt, it would be the perfect time for them if they had somebody like Cesaro on NXT to put him in that title picture. Somebody who has that kind of a draw. They're going to be able to intertwine a lot.
oh man, that'd be a great twist right now if they decided to just throw the NXT title into some quick tournament where they had somebody just drop down to NXT that you wouldn't even think of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would be a great storyline.
I want to step back just a second because you talk about NXT UK and maybe doing an Asian NXT, and it's touching on something that has been annoying me for the past couple years about the WWE in general, is that they think the way for them to make the most money, what's best for business for them, is to worry about expanding their brand to be as large as it can possibly be all over the world. And I think that that's the wrong thought process. I think if they worried more about making sure that their product was a consistent quality product, that would bring the money up. That would bring the money in. I'm not saying you can't expand while you're doing that, but if you have C-level entertainment and you put it all over the world, like who really cares? You know, who really wants to go see that? I've watched NXT UK. There's a couple people on there that are compelling, but other than that, what has it got going for it?
That's what I'm saying. You have to build. They want to build each of them up. As the UK gets built up more, that's when they'll branch out. And then they'll branch out. Every time it gets built to a certain point and they get some names moving in and out, they'll do that to where they can pull some of the top people to the main roster, get more exposure throughout the world, and they can drop some of the lower card people to these NXTs and let them build characters, let them change things. WCW cut Stone Cold. He went to ECW to build his character, become who he was. That's what they're going to try to use NXT for. It's going to be able to put somebody who they see potential in a picture where they can quote unquote run a show, be the main focus, and build a character around themselves before they get pulled back up. It can do something.
Yeah.
You'll start seeing some of these younger people who were in the IC title mix or the US title mix go to NXT and be able to build themselves. If this was 10 years ago, that would be where you would see people like Kofi, Christian, and stuff like that. Whenever you could see them being close to that point, you drop them to NXT, you give them a year running NXT to build their character, build their persona, you bring them back up, and then you have main event people. And you can cycle through the what's getting old in the current main event.
It's a good idea. I don't know that they would go through with it. I could see Hunter going through with it. I just don't know that Vince is going to go through with it because Vince is very repetitive in his ways. He does the same storylines every 3 years. It seems like we're doing the same storylines on the main event. Hunter has got the great ideas with all this NXT stuff, and he's seen what works when guys, like you said, they go away, they go to Ring of Honor, they go to Japan, they make a name for themselves, and then all of a sudden they come back because their brand has been built up. And he's like, well, screw that, we'll do it ourselves. Exactly, right? That's what the whole premise of NXT. So it makes sense if he's going to have control over that, but proofing it, he didn't even know, all four of those guys were coming up a couple of weeks ago because they were trying to make a big push for ratings, if you're to believe all the rumors. But it's
That's like
until they give somebody else, until XFL. I really do. I really think when the XFL starts, he's going to have to pay more attention because he can't fail again with that, right? The XFL can't fail again. So he's going to need to pay attention. I think we are going to see improved storylines, improved movement in the roster when it's more Hunter's show. And all his buddies that he's letting work for him now, right?
Yeah. But that just still puts us back in the world of what ifs.
They're so
the world we live in.
they're so obsessed with ratings to the point that it's detrimental.
Business, James.
Well, I get this, but I'm going to use an example. Right? Let's take Elias. Elias is the perfect example of what I'm getting ready to talk about. Elias comes on, and he's got his guitar, and he sang his couple things that they want everybody to repeat. But when he first came out, nobody was repeating them. So, who wants to walk with Elias? Nobody was ever chanting that when he first started doing his shtick. But they kept doing it, and they committed themselves to it, and eventually the fans bought into that. So they're spending a lot of time developing this character right on the show, and they're willing to give that amount of time to develop the character. So why is it that you're not willing to give the time to develop storylines? Instead, they treat storylines totally different from characters. Like, oh, we'll give the chance for that character to develop into a well-rounded character, but then when we're talking about storylines, we decide we're going to change our mind with that, so we're just going to scrap it all together at once. Don't do that. Fans don't like that. Fans don't like watching Raw or watching SmackDown and being confused. Like, I don't get it. Wasn't this happening like last week? Well, why did it pivot to this? And sometimes there's a good reason for it. Sometimes if somebody gets hurt, okay, that makes sense, and fans can understand that. But when they just do it because, we think that this is going to get us better ratings, so we're going to pivot to that. Well, no, you're never going to get a consistent product if you don't put the effort into the storylines.
I agree, but at the same time, as long as Vince still is the final say, things are going to change depending on what he thinks are going to get ratings, on who he thinks should get the push, who he thinks this and that. That's why Roman's coming back and he's immediately going to be in the main title picture again because Vince wants it. It's not going to be he's going to come back and earn an opportunity. No, he's going to come back and automatically be the number one contender. Vince gets the final say on what he thinks. It isn't what's going to get ratings. It's what's going to get ratings according to Vince. And I think a lot of that will change whenever Fox is involved because Fox will have a lot more say-so than Vince is comfortable with.
I just can't see Vince allowing that.
I can see where Vince occasionally makes a right decision. Sometimes he doesn't. You know, when he did his little bit with coming out there to tell Becky that she was taken out of the match, it was a necessary. If they were always going to do a triple threat, it was a necessary thing for him to do. The travesty was when you had him come out to tell Kofi Kingston he wasn't going to be in the match. Like, find another way. Find another way to make that happen. That's them making decisions too quickly, and then now we have to kind of find a way to backstep what we already said. Because really, what's happening right now, they haven't really talked about it in storyline, and I don't even know if they will. But basically, the storyline has been that the Triple H and Stephanie and Shane are really doing what they said they were going to do, and they're listening to the people, and they start to make matches that they know everybody wants to see. And then Vince is coming out. It's actually like a storyline where Vince is coming out and then saying, no, that's not how it's going to work. Yeah. So are they going to do the right thing and actually, like, I'm fine with that. Commit to that as a storyline.
Yeah.
Like, make reality be the story. Like, the storyline is based off of reality, and run that shit.
Is that the tease, right? Are we like looking too much into this, or are they actually writing it pretty well that it's Vince's crazy ass like not following what they said they were going to do, and the other younger people actually doing what, you know, the fans want them to do? You know, is that the tease that people like us are paying attention to and actually seeing, or is it just inadvertent? Is it just them?
If that's actually a storyline, then I got to give them credit for their writing. However, again, I'm going to go back to it. I just watched on this last Raw, I watched Braun Strowman, Kurt Angle, and Finn Balor fight Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, and that is not good writing. Period. End of point.
I've seen that match.
Yeah,
I've seen that match.
I think I've seen that match
months ago.
Yeah, and then months before that, right?
Yeah.
Taking a step back to the whole thing, I think part of that is he's doing this to get everybody behind Triple H and Stephanie and Shane, to where whenever he does take a step back when XFL or whatever it is gets big, people are like, okay, we have faith in them. They are going to be listening to us. This is to build them up in the fans' eyes. They're not going to be like, oh, Vince is going to have to come out and save this kind of a thing, because Vince has always done that.
What?
But don't you? But
no, who cares? They could be invisible. It doesn't matter.
I was gonna say, don't you think Stephanie's a better heel than she is a face?
Oh, definitely. But you do this, you build them up, and then you have Shane being the face and Triple H and Stephanie being the heels, and they battle back and forth on what they think is best for whatever shows.
I don't need Vince to tell me that. I could tell you that right now. That's been their characters for. I mean, they did that last year, right, or 2 years ago.
This is Vince's ego and pride getting in the way. He's always been.
Yeah.
He's had the reputation that his ego and his pride. It's what he thinks is the best long term, and this is what he's thinking is best long term. Is that They need him to get them over as legitimate runners.
Beyond the fact that it was the same storyline, the Kofi and the Becky storyline, that Vince comes out and replaces them. Beyond that, I don't understand having Becky apologize to Triple H and Stephanie. I don't get the angle. I don't get the purpose. I don't get what substance that gave us other than deteriorating how badass she's been by making her apologize to Stephanie and Triple H. If you're only going to replace her either way, that apology doesn't need to be there. It doesn't make sense to me that they gave her an ultimatum for an apology.
It would have been better if she didn't apologize and Vince came out and kept her in the match. That would have been a better angle. It would have been more of a thing. But I think that's the whole mindset is people are afraid. They're trying to cram her into being the next Austin. So they are, but they're trying to do it in a different light. They don't want people to have too much comparison between Becky and Austin.
Too much comparison? Then they're trolling the hell out of us when they get her arrested and have her take a mugshot.
Oh, yeah. Her new shirt.
That's slapping you right in the face with it.
Yeah. So
all she's got to do is call for beers, and the next time she's out at the ring, and it's the same thing.
Oh my God! I will just give up. I'll give up if she pulls a beer out at any point and chugs a beer. I'm done. I'm done with the angle. Like, I don't care. Like, let her organically be stone cold in her own way. Let's not do a full copy. Like, I'm done if they do that.
Well, that's why I think your idea was better, to let her go away for a while, keep that persona, and then you could have brought her back at WrestleMania, and she just shows up like Triple H and Stephanie come out at WrestleMania and go, you know what? We're reinstating someone right now to be included in this match with Charlotte and Rousey, and here comes Becky, and she's not limping anymore.
Yeah, absence makes the heart fonder.
It does. They could have had her go away for a little bit injured, and then at WrestleMania have Charlotte's heel ego play into it, to where she's shit talking and she tries to jump Ronda, and Ronda takes her out, and then Ronda's out there waiting for the main event, and Charlotte can't make it. And then Stephanie and Vince say they have, or Stephanie and Triple H say they have a replacement, and then Becky comes out to a huge pop. Because that would be a huge pop, because it was the match everybody wanted.
They took a good storyline and they gave it so many twists and turns that just weren't needed. That's why I keep harping on. It's like, you didn't need this. You didn't need every little turn that you're giving this storyline. It was good the way it was. And I'm fine with the triple threat. I'd much rather have a one-on-one match, but I'll accept the triple threat. But I'm less accepting of it every week when they do some other twist to this storyline. And we're not even there yet. We still have over a month to get there. It's going to be another couple of weeks of, how does Becky stop limping? Is she all of a sudden just not going to limp one week? Is she going to just be healed magically? Because they just keep beating her leg up, right?
And so, that's the thing. Charlotte's going to attack the leg at Fastlane. Becky's going to find a way to win, but Charlotte's going to attack the leg at Fastlane. So
that's why she's got to disappear. That's when she's got to. At this point, that you have to do that. Have her disappear. Have her disappear. She beats Charlotte Flair, and then just have her not show up anymore.
So for 4 weeks, she's rehabbing, and her leg's okay by WrestleMania.
Yeah, pretty much. What else are you gonna do? Everything else isn't logical.
I don't know.
Because if they keep beating the hell out of her leg, and then come WrestleMania, she just walks out there all, normal. Again, I will hate that. I'll be like, I'm over it.
No. The better thing was have her keep coming out, limping along, beating everybody up with the crutches or whatever, but never actually getting hit in the leg to the point where she gets all the way to WrestleMania and she's limping out and she just takes the brace off, throws it down, and just goes AWOL on everybody because it was a work the whole time. That's the only way the leg injury works, because now you gotta sell the leg injury for the next month. You gotta sell it in the match at WrestleMania. I'm not gonna like who's gonna believe she got better in 4 weeks from a major knee injury that she's been dealing with for 3 months.
Becky Lynch, you need to harness your inner Seth Rollins.
Eddie Guerrero, when he had the arm injury back in the day and he was in the sling, but it really wasn't hurt and he had a lead pipe in there, man, they've came up with creative ways before, but it's like they've been focusing
Too
on
many
this
turns
much for them to just let her not be hurt.
Okay, so just to jump into Fastlane we could start with the Becky match. There's no way Becky loses that match at Fastlane.
No.
Like, we're all in agreement that Becky wins that match.
The only way they could do it is if Charlotte like cheats or causes like a, I don't know, or I don't know, if they have they could have a weird ending, and then have somebody come out and be like, no, well, she's still in the match no matter what.
Charlotte can get DQ'd, right? She could bring out the kendo and just beat her.
Yeah, but that's her technically. I mean, that's a way of Becky to win the match but lose the match. Sure, that actually kind of works pretty well.
You could have Ronda attack Charlotte, so Charlotte wins by DQ, so Becky loses.
No, Ronda would never do that because Ronda wants Becky in the match. So it makes more sense for Ronda to come out and just
afterwards
beat up. No, she can do it in the match. She can come out and just they could have a great match. It could be going well. They could be just laying there. All of a sudden, Rousey's music hits. Rousey comes out. She walks up. They're both laying there on the ground, like, half beaten to death. She looks at both of them. Obviously, everyone's like, "Well, she's gonna beat up Becky." No, she turns and she beats up. I'm sorry, she's gonna beat up.
She'd have to beat up Becky. She'd have to beat up Becky.
She'd have to beat up Becky. Well, that's fine. She beats up Becky and Becky wins, and now she's in the match. And all she has to do is give her one shot, and that's it. She's just come and just hit her one time. Don't do the crazy Shane McMahon punches. Just come and hit her one time and walk out.
Hey, man. Hey, how dare you sully the name of the Shane McMahon punches? Those are the strongest air punches you'll ever catch in your entire life.
Worst. That's all I kept thinking about when Rousey's been doing them, and finally, like on Monday, at least she was hitting, Becky. Like, it looked like she was trying to just hit her in the abdomen, like over and over and over again.
Yeah, the whole Shinsuke moment, I thought she actually hit her in the face with her leg. Like, it looked bad.
I think part of it is some of the stuff Becky has said when she was mentioning Ronda's husband kind of hit a sore spot. So I think some of those might have actually been legitimate hits.
Rousey's she's not a full-time WWE wrestler. She's not. She's good for this run, and maybe she'll come back every once in a while at a big pay-per-view and do something, but I don't think she can handle the business where it gets personal sometimes in storylines, because you have to do weird stuff. You have to play off real life, right?
Yeah, she's been saying online for the last couple of weeks, I don't need this.
Good, go away.
It's a work. It's a work, Chris.
So the other women's match at Fastlane is Asuka and Mandy. I mean, obviously, again, I'm thinking you're not going to give it to Mandy right now, and it's almost I know she's getting a push, but
if Asuka's legitimately hurt, they might take it off of Asuka.
Well, they're saying she's not. Asuka's saying she's not. She said it was actually her back. Did you guys see the footage of her taking? It was like an Alabama slam almost, and she landed on her face, but I guess she tucked her chin the wrong way. So she just looked really awkward when she hit the mat. It was really stiff, and she's saying it was her back. It wasn't her neck. So I don't know. I can't see them giving Mandy a push at Fastlane. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is they took Charlotte and Becky out of the title picture, so they have nobody. They have nobody.
They have somebody.
Lacey Evans.
There's oh, what was that? What was that name?
Lacey Evans.
Oh, so
But
good that I heard it
still,
twice.
they're over with that title picture going in the Mania. They have a month, but they got to do something.
I don't have an issue with Lacey Evans, but at some point she needs to like wrestle.
We've seen her wrestle just a couple weeks ago.
She I'm telling you, they're doing the well, was it Emmalina?
Oh yeah,
They
Emelina before she was
so
Emma. Yeah.
wait, they did the Emmalina where she never actually wrestled. She was getting reworked into this Emmalina character, and she never actually wrestled. She came out and she was like, "So now that you see me at Emmalina, I'm gonna go back to Emma." And then she ended up getting released like pretty soon after that. Then they give Lana the entire character, and Lana comes out and does all the dancing and everything, and they scrap that. Now we got Lacey Evans just strolling out and strolling back. It's like they're really trying to make this one character work where they don't wrestle. They just come out and kind of move around a little bit and then go back to the back.
Yeah,
But
but
I
it would
think
almost.
James more enjoyed Heavy Machinery doing it than Lacey Evans.
Oh yeah. Pretend to be the bushwhackers. I've got no problem with that. I guess my big issue is like if you're going to have a wrestler that walks out and then walks back in, and we're talking specifically about Mandy Rose and Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans is clearly the better wrestler. She's the more full packaged individual.
I'm
Mandy
so glad I'm
Rose.
recording this.
Mandy Rose. What? Wait a second. Wait a second. We got in one big disagreement because we were at a house show in South Carolina and they had Lacey Evans pair with Nikki Cross, and
Yes.
I, being a person who likes logical storylines, and it was logical
It's
from
still
the standpoint.
logical.
I get it was logical from the standpoint of, oh look, the Iconics are bad mouthing South Carolina. Lacey Evans is from South Carolina. I get that, but no, her dainty character would never ever pair with Nikki Cross, and not to mention the fact that, oh my gosh, how bad was Nikki Cross in that match? Like, why? Oh my gosh! Like,
it was over the top.
Sanity. You need to have sanity, because without sanity, Nikki Cross serves no purpose in my book.
I would like to make a statement that Billie Kay serves no purpose.
Oh
But
no,
yes,
Billie Kay serves a great purpose, and it is being your favorite female wrestler of all time. Oh gosh.
Bad. All right, so Oscar or Mandy, James? I'm trying to take some picks now while we're rolling through.
Oscar, definitely.
Steven?
If would be travesty if Mandy won that match.
It's Oscar unless she's hurt. They don't like to just. If they think Oscar will carry a match, even being injured, they'll keep it on her. They won't announce the injury until after the match. She'll have some kind of nasty bump set up to make it an actual injury in the match.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, you keep Asuka with the belt because you want an Asuka versus, somebody at WrestleMania. So, then we got
What's
Mysterio.
your pick? Did you actually pick?
Yeah, I said Asuka. Yeah,
okay,
I said
good,
Asuka.
Good.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad that at least two of us are of their senses.
Yeah. And then Steven picked Asuka. He's only not picking Asuka if she's hurt.
Yeah.
But
well, I don't even like that.
Which means he's picking Asuka.
I don't even like that. I don't like the wishy-washy pick.
So probably one of the best matches on the card is going to be Mysterio and Andrade. Like, that could be a really great match with no title, just a somewhat decent storyline, and two really good wrestlers.
I'd like to pick this match, but I'd like to pick it like Steven. I think that Rey Mysterio is going to win unless Andrade wins. And if Andrade wins, then I think Andrade is going to win.
I never said Mandy was going to win. Just to let you know.
Andrade. Okay, but to be more serious,
Mandy doesn't win, but Asuka doesn't lose. What? Wait, hold on. What?
Okay, for this match, I'm gonna go ahead and pick this match. I do believe Andrade should win. It is Rey Mysterio's job to make sure that Andrade gets over, because Andrade is the new guy. Rey Mysterio is. I think the whole point has been to single out Andrade as this really great singles wrestler, and he's finally getting his push in. It's well deserved.
I agree. I think Andrade is going to win. It's going to be like a big. Well, I think the big moment for it would be at Mania. I think they're going to have a rematch at Mania. I think this will be one of the Fastlane matches. That's a rematch at Mania.
I actually kind of personally think that shouldn't be a Fastlane match, because I always thought that this would be a really good Mania match.
Yeah.
And like, why are you just going to do it over and over and over again? They had stopped doing it for a while, and it was the perfect time for them to kind of wait and then do it one more time at Mania for all the wobbles.
I agree completely, and that's why I'm picking Mysterio to win the match. And I think he's going to win it via Andrade doing something illegal. And that's why they end up with the rematch at WrestleMania. And they'll put some stipulation on it.
Good logical pick.
All right.
I could bring that into the mix and have a mask on a pole.
Mask on a pole match. Yeah, there you go.
Love it. Let's do it.
So the match that we probably really don't want to pick is the Usos and the Miz and Shane match, because it's kind of leading up to a match we don't want to see.
I'm going to go against James's mastermind picking, and I'm going to Shane to win the belts back.
I have to go with the Usos. Even though they got in trouble, I feel like they can do no wrong. They're Rikishi's kids. I mean, even putting them on house shows for a little while is a slap on the wrist, but they are one of the best tag teams in wrestling, period. So they need to be on TV. They need to be either in the title hunt or carrying the belts. So I'm going to go with them.
They're not the best tag team in the world.
I can't with the stupid tagline for Miz and Shane.
I just believe, there's going to be a spot in this match at some point where somehow one of the Usos gets control of Miz at the perfect timing to throw him into a coast to coast, and oh my God, everything's gonna collapse and the Usos are gonna win. So as much as I would love for Steven to be right, he's wrong. And the Usos will win.
Out of nowhere.
Oh, jeez.
James always is wrong.
That isn't a match, right? Like I'm speaking of out of nowhere, that's not on the card for Sunday, right?
What, AJ, Randy?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
As of right now, AJ has no match.
We did forget to predict where the end of every match was Randy Orton RKOing everybody, right?
Yeah. Every single person.
Every single one, and us being like, "Oh my God, we didn't see it coming." Why'd the camera zoom in so close to the person's face so you wouldn't see it coming? So it would be out of nowhere.
Shield wins, I'm guessing, over Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley. I don't even have something creative to say other than it's the Shield. They really don't need to lose at Fastlane. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, true.
Gotta love that cheap pop. Shield all the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's two more tag matches for titles. The Sasha Bailey versus Nia and Tamina match, which I don't like the way they gave them the belts in the first place. I don't understand why Sasha and Bailey are already carrying the belts. I thought it made more sense for them to win the belts at Mania. So, that being said, they're losing Sunday to Nia and Tamina because I want the belts off of them so they can win them at WrestleMania.
There's no rematch clause. There's no automatic rematch clause, bro.
It doesn't have to be an automatic rematch clause because it's wrestling, and they'll figure out a way to have a match at WrestleMania. They'll win some tournament or something to get the rematch.
Logic.
I agree that they should have won the Mania. But I do not think Nia and Tamina should be the women's tag team champions. It's idiotic at best. It's just,
What
it's just not happening.
All right,
what's the
so
what's the
Steven
next bet?
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. So Steven, are you saying that on Sunday it's boss time?
It's boss time. But at
Steven
the same
is not a
boss
fan.
really has
He's
to
not a fan of Sasha Banks, and for no good reason. For no good reason. There's nothing that Sasha Banks has done in the past, whenever time period, that has
She has
affected
wronged him.
has affected any storyline that he's actually interested in. So he just has hate for her for no good reason. But he is the proud owner of a It's Boss Time shirt. And it's wonderful.
Yeah. My issue with her isn't her abilities; it's the fact that she's pushed so much for no reason. If they were going to push her because of her abilities and how she can carry things, her title reign should last more than an average of 3 days.
Are you annoyed at Bailey? Because is it a push of Sasha or is it a push of Bailey and Sasha? I thought they were a tag team.
They are a tag team, but they've forgotten about Bailey. If it wasn't for Sasha, Bailey wouldn't be in this situation she's in. They would have let her drift off into Neverland already. I just don't like how much they keep pushing Sasha. Her and Charlotte Flair both. Ever since they came up from Next, the two of them have been the golden childs until Becky decided to start punching people in the face.
Who is the second best tag team in the women's division behind Sasha and Bailey?
Kyrie Sane and Io Shirai.
Oh, that's such a stretch, though. That would be a good WrestleMania match. I would hope, and I'm going to make my pick with my heart, which means I'm going to get it wrong because this is how this works. Sasha and Bailey will win at Fastlane because Sasha Bailey versus Nia Jax Tamina is an awful match.
Yeah.
And if people don't realize it's an awful match, well, just wait till Sunday. You'll see what we're talking about. And so I think we just need a better quality opponent for them for WrestleMania.
It's been rumored. It's been shot down, and then it's been rumored, and it's been shot down, and it's been rumored that they want Lita and Trish to face Bailey and Sasha at Mania for the women's tag team champions.
I will
But-
shut the television off. I
It's
will
not a
shut
good
it off.
match. It's not a good match. They're not
it's-
able to wrestle anymore. Lita's
not-
almost like killed herself every time she does a moonsault now.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Not only that, like I'm so sick of leaning on veterans, these old vets, to come back and
Nostalgia.
say, "Oh my gosh, I'm not one of those people." You know, you're either one of those wrestling fans or you're not. I'm not.
It's
Like-
WrestleMania. It's come to be what's expected. It's WrestleMania.
Okay, well, 20 years from now, when they wake up Undertaker from cryogenesis, because we need him to wrestle just one more match, The Undertaker. Like, come on, give me a break.
If he starts walking to the ring now, he'll make it by WrestleMania.
You're right. Okay, he should start walking now. I love The Undertaker. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just sick of the match. I'm sick of it.
They were teasing the idea of Taker versus Finn for a while there. Well, Taker versus the Demon for a while there.
What? So Taker can lose again?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
They just
like
saying-
anybody who fights Taker's got to lose, right? Unless it's the Demon's probably the Demon, Brock, and Roman are probably the only ones that could beat Taker at WrestleMania, right?
Unless there's somebody else that it can take the mantle. Which, interesting side note, I was actually talking to Tim about this today. I was watching Aleister Black, and as I watch Aleister Black, I think
Tim, side note on your side note. Tim believes that wrestling is 100% real. Go ahead.
Hey, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I love talking to people like that. And hey, what do you mean? And wait a second. Wait. What are you talking about, Chris? Wrestling is real.
It's it's real. It's real.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the point I was gonna make was, I watch Aleister Black, and like he does his whole entrance thing, and I think the crowd's really starting to dig that entrance. And I'm thinking that is the wrestler. It was always like, well, maybe you take Bray Wyatt and you kind of make him into the next Undertaker. I bet you Aleister Black could be the next Undertaker.
They tried a little bit in NXT. He was doing that a little bit when he came back from his injury. He was just popping up in the ring every once in a while when he was trying to find out who jumped him.
Yeah.
They turn the lights out and he'd just show up.
And let's be serious, WWE. If you're listening to me, I don't mean, hey, let's get somebody in the ring and let's have him do all the Undertaker's moves. Don't do that. Don't mess with Aleister Black that way. Just saying, tweak his character to be a little darker, and then a little darker, and then a little darker, and then supernaturally darker, and then, ease into it. Okay, but you know what? This is a rant. We got to get back to the picks. So we were at tag teams, women's tag teams. I believe
you're good.
I believe that Sasha and Bayley are going to win.
Okay, so I'm the only one on the Nia and Tamina train, which is going to come off the rails. So the men's Raw tag match, which has the potential of being a pretty good match because you got the likes of Aleister Black and Ricochet, Revival, and Gable and Rude. I mean, it could be a pretty good match. Is it a triple threat? Is it a tornado tag? Do we know what the stipulation is?
The last I heard, it was a triple threat.
Okay.
Which I think is good as long as it's not that silly, like, oh, only two guys are in the ring at one time. Like that.
That's my concern.
That's my least favorite. But I'll say this. The X factor of that match being really awesome. Chad Gable. Chad Gable is amazing.
Yeah, he is. I 100% agree. Gable is the guy that deserved the push instead of Jordan. That made more sense back in the day to make Gable Kurt Angle's son and give him the push. And I think Gable would have done more with it than Jordan did. So here we are today, and now Gable's showing that he's a really good wrestler. And he could do some, like, he's Cesaro strong sometimes too. Like, he does some stuff that you just wouldn't expect a guy who's a little bit smaller in stature to be able to do.
Absolutely.
So.
I think the obvious pick is the Revival. I think the only reason that Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are in the match is so that the Revival can pin them so that they can continue this strong push of Ricochet and Aleister Black.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's a clean sweep because there's just no reason to have the Revival lose now. That you've already made them drop matches to Black and Ricochet, which helped Black and Ricochet and kept the Revival looking strong still. But at this point, you want the Revival going into WrestleMania with the belts, and they could probably find a pretty good opponent for them for WrestleMania and some stipulation match or ladder match or something that'd be interesting.
You could do one of those huge tag team ladder matches with 3 or 4 tag teams. And it'll be fine.
Well, also the fact that Black and Ricochet are pretty much penciled in to have a match at TakeOver, before WrestleMania. So I don't understand how they're going to put these guys in the main roster picture other than they had to do something because they lost Ciampa.
Well, that's too late because they're already on the main roster. They're not even really NXT. I mean, I know they're still doing NXT stuff, but they're considered main roster people now, right?
No. When they come out, they still have the NXT logo with their names. They're still considering them NXT guys because it was almost like this invasion angle for a while there, where they were still NXT guys, just proving their point that they were the best and they can compete with anyone. But when Tommaso went down, and that's who was supposed to be on the show more was Tommaso and Gargano, and their storyline was going to play out on the main show, and they were going to have the match at TakeOver. But now, they had to put somebody in these tag matches, and it ended up being Black and Ricochet the whole time, which is great for them. But
kind of like an invasion thing in NXT, it should be the build up to Survivor Series. Then they have a traditional Survivor Series elimination match with, I hate to say this, but with 3 teams. An NXT team, a Raw team, and a SmackDown team. Or you can have a main roster team versus an NXT team. I think that would have been a better story than just having them randomly pop up because they want to get ratings.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I also like the idea of those Survivor Series matches meaning something, like they win a match and they get to, like, it's like almost like a supplemental draft, and they get to pull somebody from the other two rosters because they won a match. You give them a pick almost.
Or that,
Yeah.
or they say some, bullcrap stipulation of winning, like if you win, you know, you'll get on network television or something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, well we know they're winning now because they're getting ready to put them on network television.
Oh, we can dream. So final match, the match that should be Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan, or should be actually Mustafa Ali versus Daniel Bryan.
And
KO versus Daniel Bryan.
I still
I don't.
Mustafa was that.
It would make more sense if Mustafa Ali was in this. I feel bad almost for KO because I feel like he got thrown in. It's great that he gets a title shot. I'm sure he's going to do the best with it. And he's a great worker. It'll be a good match. Those two have wrestled each other in Ring of Honor, and they could put on a good match, I'm sure. But there's no way Daniel Bryan drops the belt. I don't know that Daniel Bryan has to win the match. I mean, we could easily do a no D, I'm sorry, do a DQ finish or something, or even, I hate to say it, even a count out. But there's no way Daniel Bryan drops the belt. What do you do with Zayn though?
This is what I'm thinking they should do. I'm thinking that they should have KO going up against Daniel Bryan, and the end of the match is that Rowan gets involved and gets Daniel Bryan DQ'd, which is fine because the title won't transfer over on a DQ. So KO technically wins, and then they start beating the hell out of him, and Sami Zayn comes to his rescue, and then you have KO and Sami go into the tag team picture.
Doesn't that start a storyline with them against Daniel Bryan and Rowan? And you're going to have to break off of that before WrestleMania to let Kofi have the match?
You have to bring Harper back for that to be a thing.
What, because you want it to be Harper and Rowan versus KO and Zayn?
Because you can't have Daniel Bryan and Rowan being in the storyline against KO and Zayn, and Bryan and Kofi being in the storyline.
True. Well, it could be a double, kind of a double pop then, right? Sami Zayn comes out to help Kevin Owens, and then Luke Harper comes out to help them squash KO and Sami Zayn, and then you kind of set that up, and having Harper back out there helps you do your inevitable build possibly to Bray Wyatt coming back. But my only issue with that storyline of Bray Wyatt possibly coming back is it would make a whole hell of a lot of sense for Daniel Bryan then to win at WrestleMania, and then here comes Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. Which, again, you could do. You could give Kofi a great match and then still lose. Heavy sigh.
Steven's so heartbroken already. But I love Kofi.
So, at James, you're...
Give him a week. Give him a week with the belt.
Oh, I'm definitely picking... I don't know. I guess if we're being technical about it, I'm going to say that KO wins by DQ.
All right, that's what I had you down by. I had you down for KO. I'm actually going to pick Daniel Bryan to win somehow. I think it's probably going to be a Rowan interference or something that they don't catch, and they could always play a storyline off for a little bit for that until they get Kofi back into the title picture. Steven, what do you got?
I think Daniel wins. I think
he has to if you want Kofi to win.
It's Rowan, and then Harper pops up out of nowhere when the ref's distracted with Sami and Rowan, and takes out KO.
And they go, Vintage Harper!
I just...
Takes him out
don't you hate that we have to always go to this guy pops back, this guy shows back up, this guy returns. We're waiting for this guy to show up. That's
just the natural way that it works, though, with injuries and stuff like that. I think that these picks that we do, and I'm not trying to speak for Steven, but when he talks about Harper coming back, inevitably that's what's best for story,
Yeah.
for the long running story, which is so much more important than, again, I ranted on it earlier. It's so much more important than they give it credit for. Story is super important.
But we focus on what's important for the story, where they focus on what they just feel like doing that week, which was probably what they did 4 weeks ago.
Which is what's important for ratings. How can we mend ratings? That's what they always worry about.
I mean,
Again, you're right. It's a business. What's best for ratings?
I've 2019 as so far, right? It's been short, just a few months. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed what they're putting together in WrestleMania season. I'm not gonna totally write it off yet. I mean, NXT still, I think, carries the brand WWE as the best wrestlers out there right now. But it's just I want them to stop playing that nostalgia game with us, with these guys all the time. We're gonna see some new faces out here, and then they roll out Kurt Angle. It's like, okay, that's not a new face. That's a very old face. Stop bringing out these old faces when you tell us you're going to bring out new faces. They started doing it finally, right? They started doing it with the NXT guys and some guys coming back and Mustafa Ali getting a push. But I felt like at the very beginning they were just messing with us. It's like, oh, you're gonna see some new faces, and there was no new faces that first night.
Yeah, the whole EC3 thing's been a joke.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, is EC3 even ready to be on the main roster?
Probably not, but they need to just move him back then. Pretend like we never heard it.
Which, I mean, they've done that before.
You still got a guy named Lars Sullivan rolling around somewhere.
No, he's somewhere having a panic attack.
Or joining Scientology.
Yeah, or whatever he's doing.
He's been taking advantage of WWE's hospitality and helping getting him mental help. I was reading that earlier today.
He's taking advantage of it?
Yeah, they offered to help him get mental help, and he agreed he would get it.
Huh?
Basically, he agreed so he wouldn't lose his job.
Well, we go back to that business thing. If somebody told you you get to keep your job, you'd have to do this, you'd probably do it, right?
Yeah.
It depends on what that thing is.
They should also teach him how to be a wrestler while he's there.
They wanted Cena. They had Sullivan versus Cena penciled in for Mania at one point. That's how much faith.
Yeah. Now Cena's gonna, beat Samoa Joe at WrestleMania.
Just like Undertaker.
Oh, don't with the Undertaker. No more Undertaker. Undertaker has beaten enough people that he should have lost to at WrestleMania. Come back and basically phantom kicked John Cena into the face out of WWE.
It was such a bad. Oh my god. The thing is Cena doesn't have to have a match. They don't need Cena. They don't.
Well, WrestleMania is the biggest show they do. It's on every newspaper, website, TV show that they can promote it. They're going to talk about it. So they do need the star power of John Cena. They're going to need some gimmick match of somebody coming back, or besides Batista, there's got to be some, like they've been trying to get Shaq to fight Big Show for how many years now? Yeah. They're trying to get another outside of wrestling person to come in, because that was the thing from WrestleMania 1, 2, 3. They always had one person who wasn't a wrestler that would come and be at WrestleMania.
Lawrence Taylor. I remember that Lawrence Taylor was at one time, right?
Oh yeah,
he actually did pretty well.
That was Bam Bam Bigelow, right? Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. He beat Bam Bam Bigelow.
He shouldn't have beat Bam Bam Bigelow, but he beat Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah, well,
Bam Bam was a badass. I'm sorry, anybody 350 pounds and do a freaking moonsault, you're badass.
Yeah, you can go back and see some of those Bam Bam matches or highlights. He was pretty good. But we've talked for an hour and a half. I think that bores people enough for the first one. I think we did okay. I don't know. We'll if anyone listens to this, they can surely tell us how terrible we did.
The internet is never light of people who are willing to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So.
We will be working on a decent name for our rants and our podcast. We'll have probably another terrible opinion coming on to the podcast eventually.
Oh, yeah. Nick,
named wrestling.
We call him Nikomura. Yes, he is special.
The young one, yes.
Yes.
So, but hopefully someone listens to this. Hopefully they tell us anything, good, bad, or other. I don't care. It's fun to finally record it because we do this every time we go out. This is not us really putting together anything too concrete. This is us just talking and just going in different directions. I'm sure it'll get more organic and more all over the place as we keep doing it. But I think we did okay. I don't know, James, what do you think?
I think the conversation was real good. I think, we definitely jump all over the place, but you know what, guys? That's our kind of our thing. We don't want it to be structured. We want it to be like just a couple friends talking about wrestling because that's what it is. So I hope that everybody gets the same vibe from it that we do because we do this all the time.
I'm not your friend.
Oh yeah. I'm only friends with Randy Orton.
You always have a problem with how I pick things and my opinion on things. I don't even know if we're friends. I don't think we've ever agreed on anything.
It's because you're the easiest person to troll in the world, Steven. I can't wait for somebody to write in the comments. Just they'll do it just because I said this right now. Oh, what's with that guy making that weird Oscar Mandy Rose pick? He needs to learn how to pick better.
I don't think Mandy Rose is ready for it. But at the same time, if Oscar's hurt, they're not going to keep it on her if she's injured. It's not going to happen.
Hey, you don't need to defend yourself, fan. I thought you already did that.
Yeah. So who thinks Randy Orton wins the Universal title at Mania?
Out of nowhere.
You got anything to say? Before we finish, Steven?
Nah, I think you guys babbled enough for me.
That's why we're not friends.
Yep.
All right. That's one in the books. I'll hit stop and hopefully you'll hear from us again. If not, it was fun one time.